In her first novel, Revelation, Peggy Payne tells of a Presbyterian minister named Swain Hammond who encounters what may be his profession's ultimate occupational hazard. He hears the voice of God. One afternoon, while grilling shish kebabs on the back deck of his home in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, Pastor Swain Hammond receives a revelation from the Lord. It's the kind of revelation that will change his life and turn his professional, reasonable, liberal, never-to-rock-the-boat ministry topsy-turvy. He will never be the same. The remaining chapters in this novel tell the price Swain Hammond pays for this fresh encounter with the divine. Do the leaders of his genteel congregation rejoice with him? Not exactly. They do like some mainline congregations that find themselves appalled and embarrassed by religious experiences. They recommend psychiatric care for their wacky pastor. One little exchange between the pastor and a parishioner named Bernie sums up the whole scandal. Pastor Hammond says, "A lot of things have happened to me, Bernie. I've got too much going on now, but none of it, gut-wrenching as it is, has electrified me like facing God." With a pitiable face, Bernie responds, "Tell me this one thing, Swain. Has it helped you out any? Is anything easier?" "Not a thing," replies the pastor. That's the way the formerly blind man found his life after being touched by the Master's healing hand in our gospel reading this morning. In John's gospel, the story of the healing takes approximately 2 short verses, and the controversy and embarrassment that you sat down for surrounding the healing takes 39 verses. The first scene is the healing itself. Jesus makes a spitball of mud and saliva, smears it over the man's eyes, and sends him off to the pool to wash off the residue and recognize the restoration of his sight. Simple enough. The second scene describes the reaction of the neighbors. Some of them agree he was the one who was born blind. Others deny the healing, saying it really happened to the man's look-alike. He recites the commands given to him by the man called Jesus. The third scene describes the first grilling of the healed man by the religious authorities. Forget that the man has been healed. They're concerned about whether or not this deed was legal to do on the Sabbath day. The man bears witness that Jesus is a prophet. In the fourth scene, we find the religious skeptics going over to the man's parents to get their take on the healing. Embarrassed and frightened not to rock the boat, the parents are non-committal. "Ask our son, he's an adult." During the fifth scene, we get the second round of questioning of the healed man. This time his confession becomes even bolder. "I once was blind, but now I see. What else matters here?" And then he takes a bolder step in his engagement with the authorities. He challenges them to become followers of Jesus along with him. Now, brothers and sisters, there are 2 pertinent points to highlight from this rather lengthy story this morning. First, do we as Christ's disciples ever expect anymore deep and meaningful encounters with the living God? Do we truly believe God's Word to be efficacious in our lives? The extension of the story into our mainline churches today is that our churches have always had the great skill and knack for investigating irregularities and smoothing out reasonable ways, things that come to us in not so reasonable ways. We are simply embarrassed or afraid when the power and encounter of God breaks loose beyond our nice, neat religious systems. Recent surveys confirm that laypersons are often not comfortable sharing with their pastors their personal religious experiences for fear of being considered nuts. That's an indictment upon the clergy for not listening and respecting more deeply the experiences of God in our midst. It is not difficult to sympathize with the Pharisees in this story. They were only doing what we all have been trained and shackled to do: observe, describe, define, explain the phenomena to death, and then record it in the minutes. We're so good at talking around what has happened that we're afraid for that encounter with the one who makes things happen in the first place. Maybe deep down we'd rather not be bothered or disturbed by what might happen if God really does speak to us, answer a prayer, carry us deeper into our relationship with Him and our family members, heal a broken body, or restore a broken relationship. The second point is this. The story provides a check on our fallacious assumptions that a life of faith inevitably brings a soothing peace and rocking chair on the front porch serenity. Raise your hand if you experience that most days. This is not to discount, excuse me, that the gospel of Jesus does bring comfort, assurance, and inner peace. But the light of Christ stirs as well as soothes. Swain Hammond's parishioners, excuse me, I got allergies along with the rest of the world. Swain Hammond's parishioners would have preferred who and what he was before his encounter with the divine at the grill on that hot summer afternoon. The way of glory rather than the way of the cross makes better sense. For his leadership brought him and his congregation into a whole new world, a world touched by God and upsetting to the status quo of mainline, reasonable, smooth-bore religion. I'm sure the once blind man, after getting grilled with questioning, skepticism, and verbal torment, probably had fantasies about reverting back to an easier life when he was blind. From time to time, wouldn't we all wish for less enlightenment so that we could claim not to be aware of the world's pain and problems? Don't we all wish to be healed and forgiven and bathed in the light so we can go off to a quiet sanctuary and bask in a placid peace? Isn't it better just to play it safe in our own spiritual and emotional cocoons? By no means. Faith is too exciting for that. For this placid peace is not gospel peace. Oh yes, life bathed in the light of Christ is a soothing reality. It brings us a degree of inner peace, but it is also a stirring reality, a reality that takes risks for the sake of God's world. The light of Christ leads us to be light and help for others. The light of Christ leads us to confess our faith in the cross and crowded ways of life. The light of Christ leads us to take new risks and never ever be ashamed of who we are as those who sing the words that come out of the mouth of the once blind man. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. Thanks be to God.